Welcome to day 5 of the personal Tanya as we learn about this amazing mind that we have and the power that we have to be able to control our emotions, to be able to do that. The Tanya introduces us to the 3 amazing capacities, the talents, the 3 parts of our mind, of how our mind works. Generally speaking, they are called Chachma, Bina, and Daas. We learned yesterday about the first 2, and today we're going to learn about the third. Chachma, we said, is the conception, the idea, the flash of inspiration. Bina is the understanding, the comprehension of that idea. Today's Tanya introduces us to the third, Daas, which is to feel in your heart what you've already understood and already comprehended in your brain. The word Das actually means intimacy. It translates as intimacy. When Adam knew Eve, Knew, the word is vehadam yada et chava, and Adam knew Eve, because just like husband and wife come together in personal, deep, intimate connection, so too, when a person comes that close to an idea, now you're experiencing das. What you need to do is to simply spend time with the idea. You've already understood it. If you're still struggling to understand, you're still in Bina, in comprehension. The third level of our intellectual processing of any idea is Das, which is to simply ponder, to meditate on that idea, to focus on it, and that's when amazing things will happen. Just like a laser, which is light, just light, like thoughts. Little waves of light are not particularly powerful, but when they're concentrated in one direction, they can pierce through steel. In exactly the same way, when we focus our thoughts in one specific direction in a meditation, we are able to pierce through our hearts in a way that actually produces an emotion. And that's why I translate Das as realization, because it's an idea that has already been comprehended, that now is becoming real. It's now becoming personal. It's now becoming yours. I've heard those who translate Das as knowledge, but I don't know what knowledge means. It doesn't particularly mean anything different to comprehension, understanding, or wisdom. To me, the word is realization, which comes from the word real, which means it's now become personal. And this is what it means to be a Chabad person. Chabad is not a denomination of Judaism. Chabad is a philosophy. It's a mindset. It's a person who's conscious of their 3 intellectual processes. And instead of just being receptive to reacting to whatever goes on around you, a Chabad person is somebody that focuses their thoughts to come to an idea, understand that idea, and then to control that idea through their meditation in order to come to the result, which is creating a new emotion. Allow me to explain it. And Tanya explains that, remember, it's the mind that controls our heart. It's the intellect that controls the emotions. When you focus and control your thinking, that's the kind of emotions that are going to be born as a result of that particular meditation. So the goal is to feel in our hearts what we've already understood in our minds. The medium is by focusing on that idea. Spending time on it. 5 minutes is a long time to meditate on one idea. And the result is reaching a space where you are so comfortable with that idea that you will notice very quickly that your emotions will very soon begin to be born. Let me give you a few quick examples. So you have this phenomenon of people that are LGBTQ, gay rights, pro-Hamas. And it makes no sense. Here they are. They're screaming bloody murder. They're saying, no, we have to be supportive of the underdog and we have to allow these people to have their freedoms. And then suddenly it dawns upon them that the very people that they're trying to support, that they're rallying in favor of, are people that would kill them. Now it suddenly becomes personal because Hamas has zero tolerance for gay or homosexual or lesbian people. So it's then that suddenly becomes personal and they're like, oops, maybe not. Another example I'd like to share with you is when King David was once asked to adjudicate on a case of a wealthy man who stole the sheep of a very poor neighbor of his. And King David right away, he said, well, that sounds to me like he's guilty of death. And the person asking the question was actually a prophet of God. He says to David, that's you. Because you are a man, a king who has many wives, and yet you have chosen to steal the wife of one of your subjects. That was the story of David and Bathsheba. And as a result of that, David realized, it suddenly dawned upon him that what he had already objectively adjudicated was actually a subjective story of his own life, something that inspired him to reach a state of a broken heart because he realized that this was just a metaphor to his own life. And when that dawned upon him, now he spent the rest of his days in teshuvah. Friends, when we reflect on God, to God can easily be to us a very dispassionate and far removed reality, which would seem to be something that we only engage in when we have nothing better to do. But if we spend some time meditating on the fact that God took us out of Egypt, took us out of slavery, and granted us freedoms, if we meditate on all the amazing things that God has done for us in our lives, what's going to happen, and I challenge you to experience this, what's going to happen if you reflect and meditate deeply on what God has done for you, you'll suddenly start to feel a sense of gratitude. And if you meditate on some of the ideas that are going to come up in Tanya, ideas like how God creates us at every single moment in time, it's what I call the doctrine of perpetual creation. Very soon you'll begin to realize that God is no more an objective reality, a far removed concept, but rather deeply personal. God is not a religious experience. God is an organic, natural, and deeply personal experience, something that I don't just want to do, it's something that I actually need to do. And in fact, this is what we Jews do when we pray, when we daven. The act of prayer is not just asking God for things, it's a meditative process where we begin our prayer by talking to ourselves about the wonders of creation and the amazing things that God has done in this world. Then we move up to the spiritual world where we discover the amazing things that God does in the worlds of the angels, until ultimately we're able to stand humbly before God because we have worked our way through the prayer, through the meditation, which is prayer. In other words, friends, Daas meditation is simply focused thinking. This is the core of the Chabad way of life. It's mindful living. You can do this. Give it what you got.